Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of Davenport public hearing for Plan and Zone. Roll call, please. Commissioner Tallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello? Yep, there we go. Schneider's excused. Lammers?
Present.
Johnson excused. Tallman here. Ingram?
Present.
Hepner?
Here.
Bransgard?
Here.
Reinhardt?
Here.
Manus?
Here.
Garrington excused. And Stelk? We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Tallman. First item of business is case REZ 22-01, request of Patrick Fenley to rezone property located south of Telegraph Road and east of South Utah Avenue, the southwest 9.15 acres of parcel number S3117-04 from S-AG Agricultural District to R1 Single Family District Residential. Matt.
Sure. So the subject property, which is highlighted in yellow, it actually consists of two different parcels of land. It's located just to the east side of Utah Avenue and then south of Telegraph Road. A portion of the property more towards the western end is being farmed currently. And then the eastern portion has more topography changes and elevation changes, as well as a creek that runs through the southeast corner. So that's left as open space. So the purpose of the rezoning petition is to subdivide the property to create two new single-family lots. So the applicant provided a legal description of the land to be rezoned from agricultural district to R1, which is a residential single-family district. So the future proposal would be for two lots, one that's 5 acres and then one that's 4.15 acres of land. And then the remainder of the site would remain as agriculture. So the surrounding area is zoned predominantly agriculture. There are some R1 lots along Utah Avenue. So there's a couple just to the south. So this would be a similar rezoning application. Future land use map shows this area as agricultural reserve. This classification does allow for limited residential uses, so that future land use category can remain if rezoned. And then there's open space and public land further to the east. So current zoning is agricultural district. That's really intended for the continuation of farming and to protect agricultural land from incompatible development. And then the R1 district, which is the proposed category, it's our lowest density residential district, and it's really intended for large lots with generous yards. In terms of public input, public notices were mailed out to properties within 200 feet of the land to be rezoned, notifying them of tonight's public hearing. And then there is also a public hearing notice published in the Quad City Times. And to date, staff have not received any comments from the public. So no recommendation will be provided tonight. However, a formal staff recommendation will be provided at the March 15th meeting when the commission will make a formal vote.
Man, I don't recall a neighborhood meeting. Was there a reason?
There is not a neighborhood meeting for this rezoning. There's only 2 impacted properties and property owners. So
Just curious. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions of staff at this time?
I do.
Commissioner Manus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am wondering, Matt, are there services here, public water, public sewer for these lots?
Services to lots will be provided. It is outside of our urban service boundary, so it likely will be off of city utilities.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, so it would not be on city-owned utilities. It'd be private services.
No water service either?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Pat Finley, the developer. Yeah, there's city water. City water is there, and then I'll be responsible for gas and electric by Mid-America.
Okay,
I'll be running that service about 800 feet. The
okay.
city water is just on the opposite side of the tile.
So you do plan to connect to the city water?
Yes.
Okay, septic
And
systems?
septic in each lot, correct.
Okay,
Yep. And staff,
Gas, then city gas, or Mid-America Gas and Mid-America.
okay,
They've already been out there to look at the lots.
okay. Thank you very much.
and staff will provide more technical comments too for the March 15th meeting.
Thank you.
Slight clarification, it's Iowa American Water, not city water.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just want to make sure we
Yeah.
understood that. Pat, could you introduce yourself and give your address?
My name's Pat Finley, 2313 West Lombard Street, Davenport.
Thank you. Commissioner Lammerts.
Okay, it was flashing all over the place. The remaining land, you know, you're looking at two lots, and looking at the remaining land, is it anticipated that this land will become a development, or is it just these two lots to become the family? Okay, thank you.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce well, you've introduced yourself. Why don't you go ahead and explain your project, and then we'll see if
Proposal is just to do the two.
Matt, can you have them turn on the table mic? I can't hear anything.
it's on.
Yeah, it's currently on. Maybe Pat, if you could just
Oh.
project up into the microphone when you talk.
It's in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Climb on the table.
Yeah.
Lots will have access from Utah Avenue. There's lot 1 is 5 acres, and lot 2 is 4.15. And like I say, there'll be Iowa American Water is on the west side of Utah Avenue, and then Mid-American Energy will be running gas and electric on the very front of the lots. And this is very similar to, my brother and myself did one in 2017, which was about 3/4 of a mile to the north on Utah Avenue. That was so
Thank you, Pat. Commissioners, any questions of the petitioner? Hearing none, final call. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition to the petition? Please step forward, identify yourself, and
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Michael Malloy. I'm an attorney representing James Capranis, who owns 20 acres directly to the south of this particular site. As the city staff has shown you in the zoning of this property is surrounded entirely by agricultural. My client's property is also zoned agricultural. This would constitute an illegal spot zoning of a piece of property to classify it as residential when the properties to the north and south and west are zoned agricultural. We ask that you deny this request and leave the property zoned as agricultural. Thank you.
thank you. Would anybody else like to step forward at this time?
Hi, I'm Sean Loader. I am for this project because I'm the one that is looking at buying the 5 acres to build a house on. And then possibly down the road buying the other 4, so I don't have anyone to build next to me.
Thank you. Sean, could you give us your address?
It's 3009 Homestead, Davenport.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Commissioner, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr.
Sorry
Malloy,
about that.
just curious what makes this illegal to change the zoning?
You talking to me?
Yes, sir.
What makes it illegal is that under Iowa law, you cannot separate out a particular section of land or spot of land to rezone it to a different zoning classification. In this case, it would go from agricultural to residential when all of the surrounding property on each side of this particular site is already zoned agricultural. So what they're asking you to do here is they're asking you to take a spot in an agricultural zoned area and make it residential. And that's what's called spot zoning. And it's illegal to do that under the Iowa case law regarding zoning.
Don't we do that in subdivisions all the time north of town? Hasn't Mel Foster systematically done this throughout their existence?
I can't address exactly what you're talking about there. I don't know what you're referring to. You'd have to look at a map and look at the situation involved in each particular rezoning to see what the situation is. But in this case, as staff has told you, the property is completely surrounded by agriculture.
Okay.
Correct, staff?
Shown on the map, is that?
Pardon me?
The current zoning map does show the area is agricultural. There is R1 further to the south.
Right, but that R1 further to the south is not contiguous with this property. It's separate, and it's separated by agricultural zone land. So what you have, everything north of this particular residential development on the south end of Utah is all agricultural. And they're asking you to separate out a certain spot here and change it from agricultural to residential.
Well, Matt, I guess legal counsel is going to look at this for the city, I would assume, if this is actually,
Correct. So we'll discuss with the city's legal department, provide technical comments, and then provide a response back at the March 15th meeting.
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. My name is John Gertis, Mr. Chairman, council members. I live at 6620 Telegraph Road. I am the contiguous agricultural land around these two properties. I am definitely for this rezoning. Mr. Fenley has a proven track record. If you go north on Utah Avenue, about a half mile, 3/4 of a mile, he's put in anywhere from $600K to $1 million homes, several of those up there. That increases my property value dramatically. I am definitely in favor of this rezoning request.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Tallman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not for you, this is more for staff, but thank you. Just
You're
going,
excused.
Thank you.
Matt, just going back to the discussion we just had regarding spot zoning and the property to the south. During your legal reviews, could you also then check, there's these two lots that are subdivided that are still zoned, the SAG, and can you just double check that they're meeting the minimum lot size requirement for that zoning district? Because I believe, I don't have the code in front of me, but I'm sure that's supposed to be the minimum lot size is probably very large under the SG zoning. And I guess if you're going to check the legality, if you wouldn't mind adding that to the list, I think I know we'd
Correct.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tallman. Commissioner Manus?
Thank you. Matt, I am also wondering, when you bring this back to us at the appropriate meeting, would you investigate the comprehensive, long-term comprehensive plan for this area and what that projection is? I'm wondering how many, if any, residences could be built on the property as it is right now? Okay, I don't think that that's been addressed yet. I imagine some residential use in the agricultural zone is allowed. And I'm not sure if the issue here is creating smaller lot sizes or if it is really a need for residential zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Manus. I need to apologize to Commissioner Hefner. My board, for some reason, has no names on it. Can we look into where
Apology
those
accepted,
went to?
Mr. Chairman.
I mean, all it says is seat 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I would like to make a comment. So the agricultural property can support single-family homes, but it needs 38 acres. And that's why this being rezoned, because they don't have the 38 acres per each lot.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that additional information. Commissioners, any final questions? Seeing none, anything from the audience before I close this meeting? Final call. We will close REZ 22-01 and move on to our second item. Case ROW 22-02 is a request of the Overland Group on behalf of Dollar General for a partial right-of-way vacation or abandonment of the alley at 2340 Rockingham Road. Scott?
So we've been approached by Dollar General. They have property that's on both sides of the alley. I'm going to pause here and let the people trickle out here before I go on. So their site plan is the next slide. Shows of the alley. The building is all completely on the south side of the alley. There are plans for a loading dock near the northwestish kind of corner of the property there where the alley would be interfering with the loading dock. And so that's one of the reasons that they've requested the alley vacation. The other one is that staff doesn't like to have head-end parking right off of alleys. And if we get rid of the alley, then it lends itself to a much better configuration. Now, the next slide. This is kind of, so the purpose, this is what I've just discussed about the parking head-in and the trucks utilizing the loading dock. The next slide after that shows kind of the area to be vacated. There's a slight little bend in this alley, and so it's not a completely a rectangular area, but it is as shown on this plan there. In the next slides, I kind of show you what the alley looks like. So this is facing east. This is the west portion of the alley. It would be separated from the other portion of the alley. Next slide. And this is just further along, further east. You can see where the tree is. That's kind of about where the subject property is going to be. Go ahead. And this is right at the end of the alley where it's going to terminate. The parking lot to the right there was the Family Dollar parking lot. And so this photo is on the other side of that photo that we just were at. This is where it's going to terminate. Next slide. And this shows the alley right away to the east where it crosses the railroad tracks. That will be vacated at that yellow dashed line there. However, there will be pavement up to the right-of-way so that garbage trucks can pick up collection at those sites there to the east and then exit onto either Rockingham or Boys Avenue during their route. And this is just the end of that alley from the other direction. We're facing west in this location here. And that's Old Dog Tire is on the south side of the alley. And so we've had a neighborhood meeting. Nobody was in attendance other than city personnel. And we have not had any calls or any comments regarding this at this time. And as this is a public hearing, there is no recommendation at this time.
Thank you, Scott. Commissioners, any questions at this time? Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you. Mr. Chair, can you show me a slide that will show me where the existing dock is and kind of what the flow of the trucks in and out of that dock would be as it relates to this alley? I didn't get a chance to go down, I apologize, but this alley doesn't look like it can support a lot of truck traffic.
Yeah, so the alley is not going to be supporting any truck traffic. That's why there's the vacation. At this corner of the site plan here is where the trucks would back up to the building. They would enter and exit onto their own newly built parking lot. They're not going to be going down the alley in either direction.
All right, thank you, that was very helpful.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, would the petitioner like to step forward if you're present?
I'm David West, a surveyor with MMS Consultants, 1917 South Riverside Drive in Iowa City. I was thrown into this without a lot of knowledge today, but I've been at this game for a while. We did the surveying for the Overland Group, and we do a lot of surveying for the Overland Group for Dollar General across the state. And this is just to clean up a little area. I've talked to Russell Doss, who is the engineer from the Overland Group, and he assures us that any private utilities that may exist in the alley will be relocated, and they will provide private utility easements for and the relocation of. The only thing I saw in the alley when I was there was an overhead telephone line on power poles yet. It looks like the electricity must be underground and routed elsewhere. There weren't any city utilities that I could tell in that alley at all. Like there was no sanitary or storm sewer that would be impacted. And other than that, if you're interested, barring any huge delays that they'd like to get going in the mid to late summer and open late fall. So he said it's an upgrade from their existing facility down the street, and that's about all I know.
Appreciate your time. Commissioners, any questions of the petitioner? Seeing none, thank you. Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor or opposition? Seeing none, final call for questions of the commission. Seeing none, we will close ROW 22-02, and we will move on to our regular meeting. Roll call, please. Commissioner Tallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Schneider is excused. Lammers?
Present.
Johnson is excused. Tallman here. Ingram?
Present.
Hepner?
Here.
Bransgard?
Here.
Reinhardt?
Here.
Manus?
Here.
Garrington's excused. And Stelk? We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Tallman. Report of city council activity. Matt?
Actually, I can take that, Commissioner Ingram.
Okay.
It's Laura. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So there aren't a lot of updates for you, but the Katie's Eastern Avenue subdivision has been approved by City Council, and the right-of-way vacation for the unimproved street south of 59th and west of Tremont is on it's just finished its second consideration, so the next City Council cycle will be its third consideration.
Thank you. Secretary's report.
Move the report.
Second.
All in favor of the report as printed, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it is passed as presented. Any comp plan information, Laura?
Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Moving on to zoning, we have nothing new or old. Subdivision, we have one new item. Commissioner Tallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That one item is case F22-02, request of Prairie Heights Development LLC for a final plat of Prairie Heights 5th Edition for a 50-lot subdivision on 11.3 acres located south of Old Brandy Lane and west of Mississippi Avenue. Staff recommends the Planning and Zone Commission accept the listed findings and forward case F22-02 to the City Council with a recommendation for approval, subject to the listed 2 conditions, and I so move.
Case number F22-02 has been moved and seconded for discussion. Laura? Oh, Matt?
I'm going to turn it over to Matt. Yeah.
Of subdivision for the Prairie Heights development. So it's just located to the east of Deer Creek and the railroad tracks. The property is zoned R4, which is consistent with the prior phases of Prairie Heights, and the lots will be compatible in size, width, and area. And then similar to the surrounding neighborhood, it's also residential general, so it's conforming with the land use plan. So it's a 50-lot residential subdivision. 2 new city streets will be added, connecting Old Brandy Lane to Parkview Lane to the south. Stormwater detention's being accommodated for at the outlet from a prior phase, just located in the middle of the plat. There is one outlet that's located at the southern end of Deer Creek Lane and Parkview Lane. So that will just be used as green space and a location for a mailbox cluster. So city staff is recommending approval of the plat. It meets our findings that it conforms to the comprehensive plan, prepares the area for future development, and then the subdivision is consistent with our ordinance requirements. Just 2 conditions are recommended. 1, that the surveyor signs the plat, and then 2, that the utility provider sign the plat when their easement needs have been met.
Thank you, Matt. Commissioners, any questions? Seeing none at this time, would anybody in the audience like to speak either in favor of or in opposition to this petition? Final call for questions. Seeing none, roll call, please. Commissioner Tallman?
Lammers.
Yes.
Tallman, yes. Hepner.
Yes.
Bransgard.
Yes.
Reinhardt.
Yes.
Manus.
Yes.
And Stelk. Yes. Motion carries. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Tallman. Any future business or communications from anybody? Seeing none?
Well, I just want to let you know that we will have another final plat coming on at the March 15th meeting in addition to the 2 public hearing items that are before you today.
Thank you, Laura. Any additional comments? Seeing none?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, we are officially adjourned, and thank you for your participation.